and others saying it's a selfish attitude. We need to protect domestic reopening, which is what Grant Shapps has had to say. Let's speak to Julia Bue-Said. Sorry, Julia. Hello.
Hello, hi there, good evening.
And you're Chief Executive of Advantage Travel Partnerships, representing family-run travel companies. And so some of these companies won't have exceedingly deep pockets, Julia, I guess. Must be, generally, what's the reaction? Taken aback by what's happened today?
Oh, really devastated today, Tony. I mean, for 18 months later, I've seen a real change in mood today, speaking to a lot of my members, across the whole travel agency community. And as you quite rightly point out, these are family-run businesses that are reliant on travel for sole income purposes and have not been able to trade this year. And effectively, the only destination left to sell has been taken off as well. So a real blow to travellers, but also to the travel industry completely.
Do you have any sympathy with Grant Shapps' point that his priority remains reopening in England on June the 21st, and he has to protect that?
Yeah, I really don't have sympathy. And the reason I don't is that, we were on this roadmap. We had, a clear policy decision by the government in terms of their traffic light system, made it very clear that, of course, they can make last minute changes. We're 2.5 weeks into this. And from Boris's announcement on Monday saying there is nothing in the data that causes concern, all of a sudden there is concern. And we've had a real change in, say, the only destination that was really open. But also in the communication, if something like this is so critical and so imperative, why are we hearing this through leaks in the media, etc.? Why is the travel industry not hearing this? Why is there not more considered communication process? I think it's just shambolic. And I have to be honest, I do think the travel industry is being held, as a sacrificial lamb to the reopening on the 21st of June, despite being able to do that safely with testing, with risk mitigation in place. Nobody comes back to the UK from a green country without having to test twice. So, we were still travelling through the green process in a way that was mitigating risk, not increasing it.
You mentioned Boris Johnson said there was nothing in the data to suggest any changes, but he specifically, Julia, there was referring to June the 21st reopening in England rather than travel data. But what just as a consumer issue here, what have you found about amber countries per se? Are people still going? Are they disregarding this advice not to holiday abroad?
Not so much. I think more, certainly through our members, what we're seeing is our travel agent members are advising customers that, the risks involved with going on an amber destination. That's one part of it. You've also then got FCGO advice, which is the Foreign Office advice, which doesn't align to the traffic light system. So you've got to advise them on the two different systems, if you like. But by and large, there's really not the appetite to travel to amber destinations. There'll always be customers that once you pointed out what the risks are, what it means for them in terms of cost of testing, self-isolation on the return, they'll take the decision that they either want to do it or don't. But I think by and large what we're seeing is that actually no, travel to amber destinations is really not happening in any leisure perspective anyway.
Do you? I can remember just personally, I go on a bit of a lad's holiday every year, and last year it was cancelled. Now it was just unthinkable to me that this year would go the same way. Are you now, Julia, beginning to dread the thought that just summer might be cancelled pretty much full stop as far as travelling abroad?
Yeah, no, of course. And I think that's where I guess there is that lack of sympathy. Obviously, I am in a bubble which represents the travel industry, so I'm going to have a slightly skewed view. But the view I see is that, there are hundreds of thousands of employees that are working in this industry. Those lives have been devastated. Businesses that are literally hanging on to their last penny. And it's very easy for the Grant Shapps to talk about the funding, the grants that the industry has had. But these small businesses haven't had anything. And, the local authorities don't recognise the grant support because of how they're set up. So, they really are on their last pence in terms of trade. And so, that's how I see it. And that's, so everybody absolutely wants to work to the 21st of June. We cannot afford to have anything scupper that. Of course, none of us want that. But those employed in international travel are part of that community, and we also need to make sure that we are supporting those that need the support, and the industry's not had it.
Just to end, there's kind of probably naive, but there's a kind of an expectation that, well, when we're through it, EasyJet and all these airlines will still exist in some form or another. But when we're talking about family-run travel companies, is there a percentage of these businesses you think will go under, Julia?
I think unquestionably, but I think there's a whole supply chain that's connected. I mean, the aviation sector is part of an interconnected industry, and one component of it. But there are thousands of different types of businesses that rely on. I went to Portugal a couple of weeks ago on the day 17th of May, and I took a taxi to get into the airport. And I was his first job in 14 months. So we forget that we are helping to drive the economy. We are helping to support many other industries that are byproducts of international travel. So it's not just about the holidays. It's not just about these big airlines. And they're all suffering. Everybody is. You cannot trade for 18 months and not have any impact. But yeah, these smaller businesses have worked for many years to build up their businesses. They have multi-generational parts of their family that work in there, and are having a really, really tough time, and they are not supported and can't see the wood for the trees at the minute. There is no light.
Julia, look, we'll leave it there. Hopefully we'll speak in better times. Thanks for coming on, though.
Thank you very much.
I've just seen a statement from the Manchester Airport Group CEO,